All right. We are preparing. We are live and in charge. What is up, everybody? It's Friday, December 11th. We are right up at the hour. I am going to jump over here as we are also streaming to Instagram, and we're going to stream into my group, which you guys click the link here if you're not already in the Difference Live. You definitely want to be in that group as we go live every single Friday at 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. And what we do is we either have, usually I have my co-host on, Jordan Loftus, who is my book manager. He's a great friend. He's a great entrepreneur, has a great
My
company.
teacher's son.
Huh?
He's my teacher's son.
He's your teacher's son. So let me go on and introduce you to who we're going to be talking to today. A lot of you guys may know this young man, but today I wanted to bring on someone special to me, and this is my son, Ezra. Ezra, say hi to everybody.
Hi.
Hi. So what we're going to be doing today is we're going to be getting Ezra's perspective on something. As you know, every Friday we look to try to bring a value to people with what either talking about one of my books here, The 12 Shifts, or we talk about my other book, The Richest Man in Direct Sales, and we talk about concepts from both of the books. And we really just outline all of the principles, the chapters, the shifts, how we've been able to, find the success that we found over the past 8 years. And then also, I also bring people on and I interview them, key thought leaders. So whether that's, attorneys, entrepreneurs, so on and so forth. We're going to have one of my buddies come on who's a Navy SEAL, which is going to be fascinating. And today I want to bring on my son, Ezra. So Ezra, what's up, man?
What's up?
How you doing?
I'm doing good. I feel like I just saw you 15 minutes ago, which I did.
You probably did. Welcome to the Difference Live. How do you feel? You feel excited, energized, nervous? What's going on in that mind of yours?
I feel excited. I've only been waiting like 2 days.
So, so how, just a little bit of background for the people. Ezra and I, when I wrote The Richest Man in Direct Sales, I started writing this book for Ezra. And if you see, the dedication is to all the kids. But when I first started writing this book, I only had one child, and that was Ezra at the time. I didn't know that this would actually become a book. What I was doing was I was writing a journal for Ezra, and I was explaining in the journal I wanted to leave a roadmap for him and to tell him what daddy was doing to start to do better financially so that he would have this as he got older. And for a long time, I just had it as a Google document. I was only going to share it with like my wife and him. And then as I started helping more business partners do better in their businesses, they started earning more. I started realizing that they were doing silly things with their money. And so I started giving them access to my Google document. Then, of course, we had another child, Mila, and now we have Cruz. And along that way, I decided to turn it into a book. So Ezra and I were driving. We go on a daddy-son trip. Maybe tell these folks about our daddy-son trips. And as we were driving, I thought it would be good for us. We were having such beautiful conversations that I thought, man, why don't we just bring this on video, bring it on the podcast, bring it on my show, and then have other people be able to hear what types of conversations we have. So maybe talk about our daddy-son trips and how that started, and maybe talk a little bit about the last one we went on.
All right, so we started when I was 5 when we went to San Francisco. My first time kind of being like anywhere. And we kind of went further from there. We went further and further out of the state. One time we actually went out of the continent on a cruise ship. And the last one we went to Arizona, and it was really cool for me because I learned so much that I didn't even know. I thought that was just another desert. So I started getting really curious, and the whole time I was just asking these really good questions. So now we're here. We thought that this would be a good way to express them.
So tell these people a little bit about you. And then I want to jump into this year's been really interesting. Every year before this, you've actually gone to school in person. This year, obviously, you've gone to more of an online platform. So I want to jump into that. But who are you? Who's Ezra? What are you interested in? Why should these people even care?
So, um, I health coaching has kind of been the only thing that I've ever known. So in the other podcast I was in, I was kind of like the guest, and I started talking about a little bit about how we would be together in the kitchen. He'd be making breakfast, and I'd be doing my thing as a baby. And we'd always listen to Jim Rohn and a bunch of other motivational speakers.
Mhm.
So from that, he learned, and and then he kind of drilled it in my brain. And it was almost like multiplication flashcards, and we just practice and practice. But I always enjoyed it. So um, now, it, I mean, I know it. I can answer in like under a second if you ask me. So I mean, now I'm here on a podcast.
And
So
now you're here. So you're in this year, you're in the fourth grade, right?
yes.
And so talk a little bit about how education's been for you this year, because it's been definitely different. You are on an online platform. You were with, talk a little bit about that process of school that you're with and how it's different and how it's been for you this year.
So I'm on a online homeschooling program called Think Life. I mean, Valor School, and it's like Valor School Global. So there's like 5 different schools all over the world, and it's pretty cool. And I actually like really like it. I actually might like it more than in person.
Why?
I mean, I guess this also comes with fourth grade, like getting harder. But I don't really know. I just know that I like it more.
Hmm. So, what has it been like for you? So, obviously, this year has been a year that we'll all remember as a pandemic. Um, and you started out in a classroom setting. What has that been like? Has it been difficult not being around your friends? Has it been difficult not being in school, like, in person? What has that whole process been like for you this year of the pandemic and trying to find new ways to do things?
I mean, nothing's really changed. We moved, and I already knew that I was going to be away from my friends. So it's actually not been that hard.
Hmm. So, what classes are you taking then? Because Valor is a little bit different. I mean, allows us to travel a little bit more, which I like because my whole life is about freedom. I don't like being tied down or people trying to tell me what to do. But your classes are interesting, and you got to choose several of your classes. So, what classes are you taking, and what do you like about them?
So I'm in elementary school, but right now they kind of treat me like a middle schooler or a high schooler, the way that we bounce around classes instead of having all the subjects in one class for like 6 hours.
Hmm.
So um, I do I do language arts. So to start off my day, I do either a 6:45 or 7:45 homeroom. I usually wake up at about 6:30 and make myself breakfast and get ready. And then I have a either social studies or language arts. Social studies is at 8, so if I do the 6:45, then I have to cut off
Hmm.
it to join social studies. Or language arts is at 9:30, and then from 9:30, if I do that, then I have a back-to-back either math or science. With the new trimester, it ended after no Thanksgiving break. it's they moved around my classes and calls. So then I have Spanish like class club thing at either 11 or 10. It's been kind of optional. And then I have global impact sometimes. So it's like different classes at different days. So it's
Yeah. And in your school though, you also have chapel, right?
yeah.
Talk about chapel a little bit and what that process has been like.
So for chapel, they pull us, it's like a class, but they pull us like out of school to like have a moment to talk about stories from the Bible, kind of get to know Jesus more and and it's like a way to pray.
Hmm.
And then we watch these daily devotionals and then they have stories in the Bible. So that's kind of what chapel is.
Hmm. You have in your class, you have people from all over, don't you? Like where are some of the places that some of your classmates are from?
So when we were in Arizona, we were traveling all over Arizona. And when we were in Phoenix, we were actually about 20 minutes away from the Flemings, Wyatt and Temple, which are my friends. So yeah,
Yeah,
there's people
Arizona
from
people.
Utah, Ohio, Arizona. There's one person from South Africa.
What is that like? Like, isn't it when it's daytime here, isn't it nighttime over there?
Our first call at 7:45 is 4:45 for her.
That's awesome. And one of the things, mommy and I were thinking about putting you in this school actually about a year ago, but we didn't know if you would be able to handle it because it comes with a lot of responsibility, doesn't it? Like you have to get yourself up, you have to make sure you know your own schedule, you have to check in with your homeroom teacher. People aren't always checking on you. You have to actually start to become a leader, right? So talk about leadership. I know that's one of our big values in our house. But talk about leadership. What does that mean to you, and why is that important?
Well, it's been different, but I mean it's kind of nothing new. It's like home stuff, but you gotta like it's a little more challenging because there's actually time restrictions. Like there's like say you there's a bunch of chores that you need to do. Well, it's basically like that, but then you got it. But then you there's times that you gotta do it, and then sometimes they say like you gotta be on at I don't know, like 2 o'clock Eastern time. Well, then you also got to do the math and be like, okay, what time is that for me?
Hmm. Hmm. And what are some important, I guess, principles or qualities about leadership that you just learned in your own life?
You, I mean, you can't really. There's no point in trying to blame it on anybody else. It's like Milo was holding me up. We were playing. No, you just didn't look at the time.
Hmm. So go into that because I think you're talking about personal responsibility.
Yeah.
Okay, so talk about that from a fourth grader's standpoint. Where have you seen that show up in your life, and what are maybe some examples of how you've had to take responsibility when you wanted to blame it on, you know, somebody or something else?
There's always like a time that I always want to blame on somebody else, and so actually I have been blamed but on something before. Mila decided to draw all over herself one night in her bed. She and like her stomach was green and her face was like it was just markered on completely. Luckily, it wasn't permanent marker, but my mom recorded it and she said, Mila, who did it? She said, Ezra. My mom said, Ezra did it. She said, yeah. When I was sleeping, he came down and he drew all over me.
Mm-hmm.
So, so then I was actually at school and she showed me the video. I'm like, what?
So that's an
So,
example of someone not taking personal responsibility.
yeah.
Yeah. So a big part of leadership is taking ownership. Yeah.
Yes.
What are some other qualities maybe that you've learned from leadership? Because you have a lot of positions now in school to where you have to work in within teams and stuff with your classmates. What are some other qualities that you've noticed that are important to be a good leader?
You always, if somebody's not on top of something, then you have to be.
Hmm.
In Arizona, I was traveling while I was having to do an assignment. I was given 3 weeks to complete an assignment for global impact, and we decided to do like a news feed thing.
Hmm.
And I sent in my video. I was doing this all in like a hotel room, and then I already pre-made my video. I just had to figure out like all the effects and stuff. And then I I sent in my video to who was supposed to be organizing it all. And I was like, here's my video. All right, who are we waiting on still? She said, everybody. I said, what? She said, everybody still needs to send in their video. I said, we have 3 more days. So then in 3 days, I shot out an email to everybody and we decided it through a little bit. And then finally, some people, the pressure got to them and they gave up, didn't get any credit. And we had 7 people in our group, only 3 got credit.
Hmm. So what I take from that is part of leadership is when you see something needs to be done, then you step up and you get it done, right? You don't wait for other people to do it. And also a big part of leadership, what I'm hearing is getting people to work together really well.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that, man. All right, man. So changing gears a little bit, I asked the group in the Difference Live, my group, where we have a lot of people. I said, I'm bringing my son on. What are some of the things that you want to hear him answer? And your grandmother said she put a question out there, and the question was, why do you think God created turtles or ants? They appear so defenseless. So, what are your thoughts about that? Uh-oh, you may have frozen. Did we lose him?
So, um, yeah, you were breaking up too right now.
I was breaking up. Okay, did you? Okay, I think we're back. Did you hear me now? Did you hear the question?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I heard the question. I also put it in the chat. So, um, they may be defenseless, but they also have a purpose. Like ants are one of the strongest bugs in the world, and I mean, yeah, they're defenseless, but they, I mean, I can imagine just what they do. Like I saw a video. There was a whole colony of ants, like hundreds of ants, and they had to cross a river that formed. It was like a small like rain stream, and they had to cross it. So what they did is they worked together and actually formed a boat, and they floated across the
Wow.
like stream. It was crazy, and
Amazing.
like sure some of them died, but most of them made it, like no problem.
Right.
So
What about the turtles?
they're defenseless, but like only a couple of them when they're together, they're very strong.
Got it. I love that. So individually, There's a quote that says, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. So kind of what I'm hearing from you is, yeah, individually they're defenseless. They don't have the power that they might need to, to thrive and survive. But together as a colony, when you get everybody together, then their power is enough to literally build to get across rivers. That's crazy.
God saw the power in them and what they could do. So that's why he created thousands of them all over the world so that they're together. I kind of lost you. You froze for a sec.
Am I back now?
Yeah, you're back.
Okay, perfect. All right. So another person asked, they said, what advice would you give other kids about money?
Um, the same advice that you give me.
Which is?
One is save, invest, and give away 10% in each. And actually, one of the questions that you put up, I see here is, I asked one time, I understand what you've taught me about money, but I also understand why people spend it all. Were we still going to talk about that?
Yeah, go into that.
So we were driving near Flagstaff in Arizona. There was snow everywhere, and we were having a conversation, and I said these words. I understand why people want. I understand what you've taught me, but I also understand why people. You said, why is that? I said, because I'm currently saving up like a bunch of money in the safe that I have in my room.
Mhm.
And I would have so much more if I didn't save, invest, and give away. And but if I just like kept it all.
Uh-huh.
So I understand like it's a little bit frustrating. Like, why I have this much money? Why should I go and put it all in? And then you said, um, like in the mindset of the future, you got to think, okay, so you can have all this great stuff now. What about like 10 years from now? Like you might have nothing because you didn't do those 3 steps.
Mhm. So what advice would you give people then? I mean, because honestly, it was a great conversation, and we've been having these conversations for years now. Um, so maybe go into what are some of the ways that you earn money, and then what do you do with it? And then I want to talk about why most people do what you wanted to do, which was spend it all. So why do you go out and work for money? How do you earn it? And then what do you do with it?
Well, I'm going to start off with how you earn it. You can actually like do anything, like anything that you think of. Like somebody said one day, I'm a create a website where people can get great books and stuff, and I'm gonna call it Amazon. That sounds right. And then he created that. It got huge. So he says, I have enough money to buy other companies. Let me do that. Now it's like one of the most popular websites in the world. People use it like from all over, and he earns money like that.
Mhm. So how else do you or other people earn money?
Do I?
Yeah.
I do. I I'm currently doing like a bunch of recycling. Actually, after this podcast, I finish all my homework. I'm gonna go outside in the garage. I'm gonna separate all that recycling so that we can take it out. I used to do lemonade stands. I had my heart set on a bake sale for a while. That didn't really work out since the pandemic hit. And um, that's just kind of how I earn money.
Hmm.
That's that's like the accessibility for me right now.
Hmm. But you've done you created lots of things. You've created wands, right? Maybe talk about the wands
Oh my
you.
gosh, that
Yep.
was fun. So before Mila was born, we had to slow it down because I mean Mila was like a full time job. But me and my mom used to create wands of paint and hot glue have in the garage and the art box. I just made one like a week ago, and we used to sell them, and it would be like our little business together, and I used to love doing it, and it was really fun.
Why do you think some people think it's difficult to earn money?
I don't know, they don't know how.
What do you mean they don't know how?
I actually remember like maybe like over a little bit over a year now. I asked you, how do you build a business? It seems really hard. And you said actually it's really easy. You can do whatever you want. And and that was it. But some people don't understand that. They say they still don't know. They're like they just don't they don't have somebody to tell them that, or they don't understand it yet.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Um, why don't they have people to tell them that? Isn't that sort of like what school is for?
You broke up. I can't really hear the whole question.
Yeah, so I said, why don't they have people to tell them that?
That's, I mean, we had this conversation. That's just their accessibility. They don't have as much as I do and as some other people do. So they don't have a dad to tell them that. They don't have other people around them to tell them that. So they just don't know.
Hmm. Um, then let's talk about school. How come you don't think school is kind of teaching those principles?
They're kind of they I guess Optavia and other things like that just hasn't got out there enough yet
Mm-hmm.
because they still think that once they prepare you for a job, you're set for life. Um, I think once Optavia, your books get out there, that's going to be teach a lot.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I do too. You said something to me. You said we were driving. I kind of have a couple questions. Let me stay here real fast because I think it's important. So we talked about how you earn money. So now what do you do with it? So if you go and recycle your cans, or you have your lemonade stands, or you or mommy sell your wands and things like that. Now you provided a service, a value, or a product, and you get $1. So now what do you do with it?
Once you save, invest, and give away that dollar, 10%, 10%, 10%, you can either you can do anything with what you want with it. From then you can buy something that your heart was set on. You can save it for later. You can, I mean, it can be put in your wallet. You can, I don't know, you can give it away to somebody who needs it more. You
Mm.
can do anything you want with it.
Why is it important to give? Because we talk about 10% goes to savings, of course, 10% goes to investing. what you know, the way you really build wealth is you become an investor. But we also have 10% to where we give away either tithing or charity. So why is that important?
Some people might really need it. It brings joy to some people, especially around the Christmas time. You give them either it's like money, you give them a present, and it will be in the people with less access will probably be really thankful.
Mhm.
It's just a nice thing to do, and it's a really good thing to do. It's how and that's why it's so important to give.
Mhm. I love that. So, okay, so what do we have here? So, um, all right. So yeah, you did ask that. I understand what you've taught me about money, but I also understand why people want to spend it all for sure. I mean, because
I kind of want to get into the question in this chat about um once I asked you if you wanted to work for Think Life is Different, you told me you know. Why did you say that?
okay, yeah. So get into that. So the question Ezra is talking about is maybe a couple months ago, I asked him if he wanted to come work for our company, Think Life is Different. And as you guys know, I created Think Life is Different to teach people everything that I've learned. That's where I do my keynote speakings for companies. That's where we write our books from. That's where all of our merchandise is from and all that stuff. And so I asked Ezra if he wanted to come work for me. And he said, what did you say?
I said no.
And why didn't you want to come work for daddy?
I will always support Think Life is Different, and I always promote it, but I wouldn't want to work for it because that isn't where I see myself.
Okay. And where do you see yourself? What's wrong with my company? Why don't you want to come work for me?
Well, I mean, one is in the sentence work for. I wouldn't want to work for. I would want to work alongside. I'd want to work with something. I'd want to like merge companies and to bring more value or something like that. I wouldn't want to work for.
Okay.
Um, I mean that's pretty much kind of why
So you don't want to work for me, then you want to run your own show.
I want to run my own show.
So what do you want to run your own show and then what are some things that really interest Ezra Kai?
Um, I mean, I like uh, anything that will actually um music. I like I actually have my eyes on like acting because I really like doing that. My one of my favorite movies and one of my favorite casts in that movie is Jumanji, the newer ones.
Mhm.
And I was like, dude, that'd be so cool to like act in a movie like that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of where I see myself. I
Mm-hmm.
also see myself doing Optavia or whatever it's called then.
Yeah, no, that would be interesting. You certainly have the temperament for it. I love that. so I mean, I guess maybe what I'll do then is as I get older, maybe I'll step aside in some of my business ventures and then just have you run them then since you want to run the show. I'll just let you take over and call the shots and I'll chill, man. I'll go sit on some islands or something while you run the companies. How does that sound?
I one of those islands in the Caribbean.
So okay, so I along that same trip, So one of my visions years ago, Ezra, and I know that you know this was, I wanted to chase freedom. Am I breaking up again? Can you hear me? Okay.
Yeah.
So I wanted to chase freedom, and um, basically, you guys have never known me or mommy to like leave the house to go to work. We've always been working inside the house. I think when mommy came home, you were still very young, and you probably don't really even remember her leaving to like go to work. But
But
I wanted to create a life to where we could be free. And that's one of the reasons why I really like your new school, because we went to Arizona. You got your schoolwork done in the morning. I got my work done in the morning. And then we just played in the afternoon, which was awesome. And we get to travel and we don't have to be back home because
clock
school
it and we
telling
were
us
out.
what you say. Am I back? What you say?
Yeah, I said 12 o'clock hit and we were out.
You were out. So um I love that. I love the freedom that it brings, and that was something that was really important to me. Um Man, I was going somewhere with that, but I completely forgot where I was going. So anyhow, during that trip, I know what it was. It was creating our daddy son trip. So we have been all over the place, and it's been pretty fun. We've seen a lot of cool stuff. But on our last trip, you said something that was interesting, and I probably want to end with this. And you guys let me know, should I bring Ezra back on? Because obviously, it looks like there's a lot of people that's really enjoying this conversation and probably want to hear more of your thoughts and ideas. But you said that you felt like what did you say? You said, I think it's unfair, or I don't think it's right that everyone doesn't have medical insurance. And that you said something like that, didn't you?
I said, we're also talking about this over Mexican food. That's kind of where it started.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
said, I don't think, because you're telling me the story about how Annika, um,
Mm,
about a couple years ago, that day, Annika was having some really hard times, and you and mommy sent like $1,000 or something to her to help her out. And I said, I don't think medical bills like should be a thing. I don't think that's very fair.
hmm
And um I mean, we had a conversation about that, and I had
Well,
some
I don't
ideas.
think it's fair.
They I don't think they're fair because like um I mean, say like you're having something wrong and you might be dying. They save you and then they say, I'm going to charge you like a really big amount because that was very stressful for me. And then you're like, well, now I actually like might die. And if like I don't have that much money, then I pay it off, but then I might like lose a bunch of stuff.
Mhm.
So it's like, I don't think that's fair at all.
So what should the solution be then?
We talked about that. I talked about wherever the America's money comes from should be paying um, the doctors and the police and stuff. And you said, and then you gave me a reason why, like that kind of won't happen, and it was because the, America's money is through America. That's still we're kind of paying them. I mean, it might be like a less amount, but still we're paying them. So, so then you said, so how else will we do it? And I said, I guess we don't.
Well, I want to dig into that a little bit more because I think it's important. I'm not sure if we had a similar conversation about about college tuition. Did we talk about that too, or no?
Yeah, I think we talked about that a little bit.
Yeah. Um, so how would you do it then? If like don't listen to me, right? Maybe there's a way. Maybe there's a way if that's the way that you really feel. So how would it be done?
I don't really know. I mean, my original thought was where they print the money, they send some of that aside to, and we don't need to pay taxes. But I mean, I don't really know if that would be possible. And then you said we'll look it up, but I don't know if that's like I don't know exactly what you said,
Hmm. Hmm.
but
Well,
I mean, maybe that's a way.
maybe it's a way. What do you guys think? I mean, we got a big audience that's here. What do you guys think? So I love having these
I was
conversations with Ezra because oftentimes, even oftentimes, and I think this is important. And somebody said to me, Priscilla Allen, if she's on, and Priscilla Ezra, we spent some time with her. But she says, you and Amanda should write a book on parenting. And I was like, and she goes, no, really. And I didn't really think about it until she really started saying it. But I realized that oftentimes we don't really give you answers. You'll have ideas and we'll present the other side of that idea. And the goal is to have you come to your own conclusions, right? Um, so I think this idea is really interesting. It's an interesting idea. Um, but I also said things like, okay, um, so in order to do that, then we talked about taxes. And we said, okay, well, we would probably have to raise taxes. And then I talked about, let's just say you have $100, right, Ezra?
Yeah.
And right now, let's just say you made the most, or you were in a 30% tax bracket. So you made
Uh, for
$100.
the college tuition conversation.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, we did talk about that in college tuition. So now your $100 is dwindled down to 70. And now with that $70, you still got to do the 10-10-10 philosophy that you've learned, right?
Yeah.
And so now that $70 is down to $40,
Uh-huh.
right? And so my question was, how many people out there, in even if we raised it, how many people do you think would be willing to do that? And so I think these are the types of questions that I think are really good, because now it starts to make you think a little bit, right? So how would you do that? And would people be willing to do that? And where would that money actually come from? And you as a physician, are you willing to, now you just did a surgery on me to save my life? Are you willing to now take that? Is your value now diminished? So some things to think about. And I talked to you about fairness, didn't I?
Yeah.
You remember what I said about that?
No. I just remember that we talked about. I mean, that was kind of the base of the whole conversation.
Yeah, that someone wins and someone loses. But which one is fair? It's it's interesting. So, okay, so let me see. Let's end on this one. Let's end on a fun one because we're already 45 minutes into this thing. So, what has been your best moment of 2020?
Uh, did you say what has been my highlights?
Yeah, what's been your best moment of 2020?
All right. So, um, moving was getting to know the place better was fun. Having more space was amazing. Arizona, that, like maybe no, like 2.5 weeks ago, we went to Avila Beach. That was fun. Um, we haven't. I mean, we don't do. We haven't been doing as much things as we usually do, but I guess every little bit is an adventure. So every little bit of 2020 has been fun.
Someone put in the comments, Claudia, my friend from high school, says snake wrangling, all the snakes and stuff.
Yes.
You become a very big fan of reptiles this
Yes.
year, more so than
I
wow.
I've always been, but I never got to get close to them. And then I recently held a gopher snake and I just fell in love. Like I love these animals.
Mhm.
It's I mean, I never thought they'd say this, but I even enjoy the tarantulas. Like seeing them right like 2 feet away from me. It's
Mhm.
like here in a cage.
Mhm.
Yesterday we actually saw a coyote walk past the house. It was I mean it's really cool.
Yeah, it's definitely different from Long Beach, huh? You learn a lot more. So,
Catch lizards and geckos.
what kind of snakes have you seen at the property?
Rattlers, king snakes, gopher snakes, garden snakes. Kind of named the majority of them. Oh, red racers. We've seen. I still don't believe that one in the road when we were with Justin going to the gun shop was a garden snake. That looks like two different.
I think it was a gopher,
Yeah,
really big gopher snake.
yeah.
Uh, well, I love it, man. It's been a great interview. If you guys haven't gotten the Richest Man in Direct Sales, um, I encourage you to get it. You know, there's every piece of information in here is what Ezra has been learning since he was 2 years old. Um, so
You
he,
can learn a lot more of what I've been talking about in there.
yeah. So I mean, I wrote this book for kids, really. It just so happens that most adults don't know this stuff. And so it's really appropriate for children, but it's also very appropriate for adults. And Ezra and I are going to put out a series here pretty soon. We're
Where?
thinking about calling it Ezra and His Lemonade Stands. Yeah, we talked about that, like a series of children's books. Uh,
Yeah.
so one last word do you have before we jump off, Ezra? Anything you want to say?
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. I love it. Well, I appreciate you, young man. Thank you for coming on. There's been a lot of people that's enjoyed this. 3 people have shared it. You guys share this if you found value in it. There's been like 60 something comments, lots of hearts. Give some hearts on
It's
this.
been fun.
What's that, baby?
It's been fun. I hope that I get to do this again.
We'll do it again. You guys want us to bring Ezra back at some point? My buddy who runs a podcast, Eric, who did all the videos and pictures for Think Life is Different. You remember him? He
Yeah.
says he wants to bring you on his podcast. So I think you got a future, man. I think you got a future. We love you guys. Merry Christmas. Thanks for being on, and we'll talk to you soon. Take care.